Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we are going to be using some stamps and dies that I illustrated. This is Hope Anchors the Soul and Paradise Plumerias. I'm also using the spring layering frames. Was there something else? I think that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and stamp both of these down. These are included in the Hope Anchors the Soul set, both of these images. I originally stamped them because I had planned on doing like two versions of the same card, which I guess we still technically did. But I had a little misstep that kind of changed my initial game plan. So I stamped both of these down with our intense black coloring ink, and this is because I intend to color it with alcohol markers. I'm going to be using Olo markers, but you can feel free to use whatever it is that you prefer as your coloring medium. So I do stamp these more than once. I prefer to stamp mine like 2 times. Now, my game plan originally was to do kind of like a play on the black and white with a pop of color. Really, truthfully, my game plan was to just do a card design that was going to be nice and easy for me to do with a lack of creativity. And so sometimes creating those backgrounds, just using images that we have to create like our own pattern paper, that doesn't take a lot of thought or really kind of a lot of effort. And that's just kind of where I'm at in my creativity right now with all of the things that I have going on in my life. And for other reasons, obviously not just my particular reason, but we all suffer through like some burnout or a lack of creativity in different seasons in our life. I find that if I can kind of keep creating in just a different way, just finding a new way that kind of works for me, eventually my natural kind of creativity comes back. And for that, I just go back to the things that I truly love. So here I've kind of laid these all out. I've stamped the top part of the card. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamps. I know it's a rarity. You almost never see it in a video. And it's not because I edited it out. It's because I just don't do it. So then I'm going to use those same stamps to kind of fill up the bottom so that way it will look like it's its own pattern paper and the pattern just kind of continues on. And I'm just going to leave this black and white because it's a background player. It's a supporting actor in the game plan that I have kind of in my mind. So you could absolutely, and I've done this before, like shade this in grays in the background, and that would be, a really beautiful kind of next step. If I was doing that, I probably wouldn't cover up as much as the background as I'm going to with my design for today. But that's just something else to consider, that maybe that'd be another way that you could take a spin on it. So once I'm done stamping all of this, then I am going to pick out my colors for the actual coloring of the seashell and the anchor. If you guys have been watching the lives over on Honeybee, you've heard me say, I don't think this chart has all of them. And sure enough, I was right. I went back in and looked. This is a hex chart by Sandy Allnock. They're very cheap. I highly recommend them. But I was correct. I had both of the collections 1 and 2 from Olo, but the sheet that I was using only had set 1. So I did go through and get all of that colored. That's another great way, like if you're in between kind of creative times, swatching what you have. Or organizing is a great way to kind of spend some time with your things without putting any pressure on yourself and see, if there's anything that kind of sparks any idea. So here I'm going to color the flowers the same as well as the leaves. The only thing that's going to be different is I use the cool grays for my anchor, and I'm going to use cooler browns for the seashell. So those will be the only things that'll be different, and it's also going to be the only thing that's going to be colored amongst these two. So yeah, so it was good. The swatching portion of it, it is a little bit time consuming, like sitting down and coloring all those little things. I will say when you purchase the hex chart, Sandy does have one that's already colored that you can just print out, but I prefer to color my own just so that I know that the color from the marker is true. Sometimes when you're printing, depending upon what kind of printer you're using, the colors can come out just slightly different. So, but the hex charts are great to see kind of the holes in your collection that you need to fill. I don't think we've talked about this, but Honeybee Stamps, you guys know they carry other stuff besides just their own brand, which is one of the reasons why I love them. And they have recently started carrying Olos. So just another place that you can get them. As far as the seashell goes, you can see that there are highlights and kind of lower sections. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm adding the shading to the valleys and leaving the peaks a little bit lighter. When I originally went through and did this, it was a little bit more on the peachy pink side, and I didn't really love that as much, so we'll come back to it later and try to fix it up. This whole both of these cards, this whole video is basically about like little boo-boos, or they're not even mistakes really. It's just like kind of changing it up if you don't still love it, because I did that a lot in these. So for my greens, I wanted more of like a true green, closer to a blue green. And so I am going in with my darkest color. Obviously the flower is sitting on top. So anywhere the leaves are underneath that's going to have a shadow. And then I did, because of the way that these leaves are, I did add a little bit of a shadow into the center, which is going to help them look more cupped. And then just work out from that darkest color out to my lightest color. And again, we're going to kind of change the color just a smidge, and that'll come later. So, long time no see. I don't think that I have put out a video. Actually, I don't think I put out a video at all this week. I think the last time that I did anything was the live on Wednesday. And like, that's okay. Like, that's just the season that I'm in right now. And I know that you guys understand that, so I'm not overly worried about it. And I find, truthfully, that it's not the creating that I am having a hard time with. I guess I'm not really pushing myself to do anything too outside of the box. I'm just kind of feeding my soul with the things that make me happy, like coloring and those types of things. But actually the part that I am struggling with is the editing. It wasn't my favorite part before, I had the kind of extended break to care for my mom. But now it's definitely not my favorite part. So I don't know what that means for me. I don't know if that will eventually come back, or if that means maybe more lives for me versus, edited videos. I'm not entirely sure. Here, I wanted to include the coloring of both of the images, but obviously my videos do tend to be a bit on the longer side. So, which is great for one like this, where it's going to be like a Monday night premiere and we'll be chatting at least for the, first part of it. But after that, it is just kind of like a longer video, and I know you guys don't always have that much time to spend, so I did speed it up where I could. If for some reason you are coloring this anchor and you're like, hey, I really want you to slow it down so I can see, you have the option to A, find the gear on your YouTube video and adjust the playback time, or B, this is not the first video I've done with this set. So I will try to remember to link at the end another one that I have done with them, because this set has been out. Was it last year? I think it was last year that it came out. But anyway, I've used it other times. So I decided to go with some more of like a reddish orange and a pink for the florals, for the plumerias. Whereas like before, I think I went more with like a pink, orange, yellow. Here, let's talk about what's happening here. So my marker, kind of, if you guys are familiar with Copic markers, sometimes when you overfill them, you get this kind of like blob of ink that comes out. And so in a Copic marker situation, you would take the cap off of the other side and it would kind of equal out. So that way you could continue coloring what you are doing until you've used up enough of the ink where that overfill is kind of taken up. So I suppose that would be one way to fix the problem, would be to, like, maybe, I don't know, like if I had stamped an apple, like, because I'm using red, like I had stamped an apple and that large area, surface area of me coloring in the apple would have probably used up a lot of that excess ink and it wouldn't have been such a problem. But because I have the half markers, there's nothing to take off the other end. So I wasn't sure how to fix the problem, which is why you saw me like with the Post-it note trying to just soak up some of the ink. I did reach out to one of my friends over at Olo and asked them like, hey, do you have any suggestions or do you know what is causing this? And she shared with me that a lot of times if you're capping and recapping your markers a lot, like uncapping and recapping, it's almost kind of like priming that free flow ink. And I am a notorious capper. Because in the beginning when I started coloring with Copics, they were like, your alcohol ink will evaporate. You have to cap them right away. Where the Olos, that's not necessary because they have that free flow ink. You can leave them uncapped. So she suggested leaving them uncapped while you're using them, or, setting the cap on them but not clicking it. Alternatively, she also said that she has had success with replacing the nib of the markers that kind of do that, and it kind of helps to fix the problem. So just some things that I learned there. And because I'm still learning, with the Olos as well, not so much the coloring, but how they work and how they work together. So we're all kind of learning together. Do I think that it's a huge deal? No. Have I had it happen to me before? Actually, no, I haven't. So I'm guessing it's kind of a rarity that this happens where you have the too much ink kind of issue. But you can see in the one where it first started, that plumeria up there at the top. Here, this is the first way that I'm like going in because I didn't love it. So I liked the red, but the red was too, this sounds so silly, it was too like red, and I wanted to do more of an orange red. So I did go back in with an orange. I think this is the 2.4, and I just went right over back top of those flowers and made them a bit more on the orange side. And then with the greens, I did want them to be a bit more on the blue-green side. So I tried a blue-green first. That was not enough. And then I tried a blue in the 2.2, and that was too light. So ultimately, I ended up using the B 2.4 to go over my leaves to make them just a little bit more on the blue side of things. And then, was that the only other... I think maybe that was, no, we're going to do the seashell. We're going to do the seashell too. And the centers, I think I did with a yellow, but that's not even going to matter because I ended up going back in with a white gel pen and kind of doing the little dots in the centers. Oh, here's the seashell. So I did pick one that was a little bit cooler and just kind of go over the whole thing. I'll be honest, I probably should have went back in with my shadow colors to really like bolster up the dimension, but I didn't. So now looking at it as I'm sitting here doing the voiceover, I kind of wish that I would. So maybe that's something to just double check. So here, I'm going to go ahead and do all of my die cutting. That little blob of the red changed my initial game plan. So my initial game plan, was that I was going to use kind of the positive and the negative of the stamped images to see what I could do with that. And honestly, in hindsight, I don't necessarily think that I would have loved that. But because we had that little issue with the black, or with the red, now I'm thinking more along the lines of doing a black background. So for the one with the stamped background, I knew I was going to want a border. So what I've done is the white, I've die cut the white out of this middle layer from the spring layering frames. And now I am putting the same die down on black cardstock and tracing it with a pencil because you can see the lead shining. So that is like you could also do it with like a white colored pencil. But the easiest way to do it is with that, like with the graphite, because you can see it on the black, especially in the light. And so I just used my detail scissors and went around and cut this out. Don't fret. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's just going to act as a frame for the white. And I mean, I was pretty happy with the way that it came out. I tried to make sure that I had like good stopping points and smoother cuts on the circles, but mine is not perfect. I won't pretend that it is, and yours doesn't need to be perfect either, to just provide a little bit of frame, like a place for the eye to rest with all of the pattern that we have going on here. So that is that card. You can see it's kind of gets, the anchor kind of gets a little bit lost. It's a little bit floating there in the center, but I haven't figured out what I'm going to do to fix that yet. So here with this one, I decided I was going to cut my middle piece out of black since I needed to cover up that little boo-boo with the marker. And then I was also going to cut the large spring frame out of black as well. So here, like, this is just my kind of my process. I'm going back and forth between, do I do it in white? Do I do it in black? How am I going to get it to show up? Yada, yada, yada. You totally get what you totally would get what I'm saying. This is my whole process. So I'm going to run those through with the full cover plate that's in the layering frames. I do typically kind of wrap a little piece of tape around the back just to keep it where I want it. And then I will be able to tape it on the other side since I'm running this through together. So what were we talking about? We were talking about creativity, I think. So I don't try to put that much pressure on myself. I know that this is just, it's a different season for me and the life that I'm in. So I am just trying to be kind and give myself a little bit of grace, which I would suggest that you do as well. Go back to the things you love. I love coloring. That's what I go back to, and I don't stress too much about the card design. So here, I liked the black on black, but I definitely needed something to break it up, and I love a framed look. So when I cut the frame for the one on the right-hand side, I traced the outside. This time I went in on the die cut and I used a white gel pen. This is a 10-point Sakura jelly roll. And I traced the inside edge, which I really liked. I was like, okay, this is super fun. So on these die cuts, it also has some embossed areas. So I was like, okay, well, what if I just stick the pen in kind of the embossed area and kind of trace that around, which I did like, but it was harder to get like a clean point on those, just because the 10-point jelly roll is a little bit wider. It's definitely more of a medium than a fine. Maybe if I had done it in the 8, the outline in the 8 first, maybe that would have been better. But so I'm really kind of loving how this is breaking this up and giving us a totally different look. So I did go back in here. I'm just trying to like get the points how I want them. But what I ended up doing was going back and filling in that entire section. So it gave it kind of a white frame throughout, but then a thicker white frame on the edges, which really helped to fill that space, and make our seashell flower thing, the focal point. Here, remember how I told you this one was kind of floating? I'm going to use the same trick, but I'm going to use a black fine liner. Something to say about both of these, whether you're using the black on white or the white on black, the white will work on a bunch of other colors too, is you do need to be aware as you're tracing it, because dependent upon what angle you're coming at it from as you're kind of turning it, it will change where the pen is hitting. And so they might not line up 100%. So just be aware about how you're turning it when you're doing the lines, if you're trying to make sure that they match up completely. So since we ended up having to go with a black background for our little blobby, I am using the black, and Olo has 3. They have a K, which is like a pure black, a BK, which is a blue black, and an RK, which is like a red black. And I'm using the K, which is just the pure black. It's like the most neutral of them. And so I went around the edges, covered up that little blob on my die cut edge, and then was able to, put this together here. Once I tried it again, a lot of trial and error for me when I'm doing my card making. And you guys, if you've been watching the lives on Wednesday, you may notice that is the case. This Wednesday, I'm hoping to finish up the coloring that we've been doing on the Doggone Amazing and the Meow and Forever, and actually pull some cards together in like some mini scenes. So hopefully that'll work. If you get out of the lines with the white gel pen, you can, after it is dry, please wait till it is dry, otherwise you will get white gel pen on your nib. You have to wait till it's completely dry, but then you can go in with your alcohol marker and go over the top to clean up that line. I wasn't sure for my sentiments what I was going to want to do, if I was going to do black on white or white on black. So this is, again, before I told you, like a lot of trial and error. I highly recommend doing it both ways, because worst case scenario, then you just have an extra one that you can tuck into the case. It's not like you have to throw it away. It doesn't go bad. There's no, it doesn't have an expiration date. So I actually, which I almost always do, and you guys probably know that about my cards, I ended up going with the white embossing on black, because for some reason I just prefer that look. I don't know why, but I do. I don't hold it against me. So anyway, as far as family goes, we have been doing okay. Peanut went on vacation with his dad. So he hasn't been home in like a week. He came home this past weekend, and I was absolutely thrilled to have him home. I missed him terribly, as I always do. But I am glad that with all of the heavy things going on, he got to have a break, and have some fun, like with his cousins, and just, kind of shed the heaviness, that is currently kind of hanging around our house. And like we have Father's Day coming up. Maybe I'll do a video for that, because I do need to make my husband's Father's Day card as well as my dad's. So like, that's what I'm talking about. Like the making, the ideas or the doing is still kind of there. It's the getting them turned into videos that I am struggling with at the moment. I don't really know why. Maybe because it wasn't my favorite part before I started. So now my body is like, listen, you're at capacity for things that you can do with the current state of being. So that's out. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Cause right now, like I'm editing, I edited this video and doing this voiceover, but I have another version of these two types of cards. I have another version of those with a white emboss resist. that looks completely different, but is this still the same set? I have one of those, and then I have Peanut's birthday card. I have there's something else too. Oh, because I wanted to buy something, and I hadn't used products from the last time I bought from that company. So I was like, you can't buy anything until you use those. So I made myself use them so that I could buy the new things that I wanted. Anybody else do that? I can't be the only one. So like, there's other things that are just sitting there that could go out, and I just have not been motivated to do that. So for the one with the pattern paper, I glued down the pattern paper flat. Everything else was flat to our kind of die cut layer, and then I popped the whole thing up on foam. For this other one, I'm going to glue the black die cut down, both of them flat, and then I'm just going to pop up the seashell and the sentiment. So just kind of two different ways that you could, put together the whole, both things. So if there is something, like I tell you guys in the lives, if there is something that you would like to see, on the lives or in a video, by all means, please drop it in the comments. I'm going to be keeping a running kind of list going, because if I'm struggling, I want to be able to like just make it as easy as possible, look at the list and see what I can come up with. Two of the things that I know that are on the list already is an action wobbler, which I do have, and I've had for years, and I never use it, and I don't know why. So doing that, and what was the other one? I don't know. I'll have to look at the list. But by all means, if there's something that you want to see, or specific something that you want to see, please let me know, and I will try my best to do it. And I will be grateful for any requests that you put in, because it will be making my design life at least a little bit easier. So now that we have those put together and popped up on the foam, I can't let anything go without putting some rhinestones on it. And these rainbow rhinestones from Honeybee are still on my desk. And so I find myself continually reaching for them, because they match everything. They're like such a great neutral. And so I am using those on both of the cards. And then I also went in with a clear glitter pen and added some glitter to my flowers. And then the white gel pen as well, to just add some accents to the flowers, to the seashells, to the anchor, all of those things that I would normally do because I love the detail work. And then that finishes up both of the cards. So here they are, the same but different. I would love to know what your opinion was and which one you prefer. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. I always appreciate your time. I know what a precious commodity it is, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.